Real Science Review, Ecology. 7th grade student in Texas, Dong Nguyen. Miss Marple, you say we are going to analyze an environmental impact statement concerning plans to lease plots off the Texas coast for oil drilling. But why do the government, want to lease it at all? My folks told me we had a humongous oil spill in the Gulf about 10 years ago that destroyed a lot of sea life. My uncle, Dong Nguyen, is a shrimper in Galveston Bay, and he lost a lot of money when the Deepwater Horizon well blew out. Why are we allowing drilling at all? Ms. Marple, whether or not we agree with the government policy of allowing offshore drilling, the fact is there is a policy to make the U.S. independent of other countries for oil energy. Otherwise, we must import oil from other countries, who could choose to jack up the price or even withhold oil exports to us to make us do their bidding. In addition, some countries with which we are friendly are located in an unstable region, and that can affect their exports of oil. We can't achieve energy independence without offshore drilling. This is where a great deal of oil and natural gas is found. Someone is going to produce the oil and gas we use. It might as well be us. The government requires huge studies to estimate the environmental hazards at proposed drilling sites. They also have to show they have the best technology and practices to minimize the impact of any oil spills. Companies submit a report of the study in a huge document called an environmental impact statement. If the expected impact is too great, no lease for drilling is granted. This is a different kind of science than what you are used to learning. We are going to have you simulate the kind of review of an EIS that government scientists do when deciding where offshore wells can be drilled. Vocabulary used in the original research report. Benthic. Ocean floor in deep water, greater than 300 feet, soft bottom habitats containing microorganisms, coral, and associated fauna. Federal Register. This is the official journal of the federal government of the United States that contains government agency rules, proposed rules, and public notices. It is published every weekday, except on federal holidays. Flower gardens. A region off the Texas coast with an unusually rich abundance of coral and reef life. Mitigation. Making something less severe, dangerous, painful, harsh, or damaging. Pelagic. Relating to, or living, or occurring in the open sea. Original report. Gulf of Mexico multi-sale environmental impact statement for proposed Gulf of Mexico OCS oil and gas lease sales. Published by Bureau of Ocean Energy Management, Gulf of Mexico OCS region, U.S. Department of the Interior, New Orleans, March 2017. The report consisted of Volume 1, Executive Summary, Purpose and Need for Actions, Alternatives for Proposed Actions, Impact Producing Factors and Scenarios, 285 pages. Volume 2, Description of Affected Environment, Impact Analysis, Consultation and Coordination, 514 pages. Volume 3, 12 appendices. This adaptation is of the Executive Summary in Volume 1, 285 pages. Adapting authors, W.R. Clem and Todd O'Hara. Introduction. The Federal Bureau of Ocean Energy Management, BOEM, launched a 5-year program to evaluate the predicted environmental impact of leasing rights for 10 ocean drilling lease sales off the Gulf of Mexico coasts. The purpose was to contribute to meeting domestic demand for oil and gas and enhance national economic security in an environmentally and economically responsible way. Oil is a fundamental resource that is needed to make gasoline, aviation, and diesel fuel, and various other chemicals. The data obtained through this 5-year program study will enable BOEM to determine whether and how to proceed with lease sales for within the region. Specifically, BOEM prepared this environmental impact statement, EIS, to identify potential environmental damage from ocean oil and gas drilling off the U.S. Gulf Coast. This information is used to determine requirements of oil companies in lease contracts. Methods. The study aimed at specific proposed lease regions off the Gulf of Mexico coast. The plan was to study a specified region of coastal waters in each year of the 5-year plan. Prior to the study, public hearings prior to the study were held from April 29th to June 1st, 2015 in 5 cities: New Orleans, Houston, Panama City, Mobile, and Gulfport. Public comments were also received at a government regulations website. On September 4th, 2015, BOEM published a call for information in the Federal Register for each lease site included in the study. The call invited potential lease bidders to identify specific lease plots of interest within the program region. The call also asked the public to provide information on environmental, socioeconomic, and other relevant concerns. The call was closed on October 5th, 2015. A notice of the call was published in the Federal Register on April 22nd, 2016. This opened a 45-day comment period. BOEM then held public hearings that were attended by 93 individuals in Beaumont, New Orleans, Panama City, Mobile, and Gulfport. Results and discussion. Participants in the pre-program public hearings voiced common concerns over the welfare of marine wildlife in general and of protected species, such as some marine mammals and sea turtles. Other concerns focused on the quality of habitats, fish and fisheries, sensitive benthic communities, and pelagic resources. Socioeconomic concerns raised involved impacts on fisheries, recreation, tourism, and local jobs. There were also suggestions related to alternatives or mitigation and specific analysis methods used to evaluate environmental impact. Others suggested incorporation of recent industry technological and safety advances. BOEM received one letter from the Louisiana Department of Natural Resources requesting that BOEM consider secondary and cumulative impacts on leases. The Louisiana Department of Natural Resources also urged BOEM to implement plans to confirm that the predictions were correct. Public response to the notice of availability included 1,300 comments via letter, email, written, and verbal comments gathered at public meetings and feedback collected through the regulations.gov website. Many comments came from the No New Leases organization. In response to requests from a group of Vietnamese American fishermen, BOEM had portions of the multi-seal EIS translated into the Vietnamese language. The initial step in the EIS was to establish the scope of the program in terms of deciding how much of the coastal region between Texas and Florida should be considered. Alternatives. BOEM considered 4 action alternatives and 1 no-action alternative. Alternative A, the preferred alternative. This alternative would block sales in certain regions, including areas within the current boundary of the Flower Garden Banks National Marine Sanctuary. Alternative B. This alternative would allow for proposed lease sales involving central and eastern planning areas, but not the western, Texas coast, areas of the Gulf. Alternative C. This alternative will allow for leasing within the western, Texas coast, planning area, but not in the central and eastern planning areas. Blocked from leasing would be the Flower Gardens area located off the Texas coast. Alternative D. This alternative would combine action alternatives A, B, or C, allowing flexibility to offer leases under any alternative, with additional exclusions. Certain planning areas could be excluded from leasing based on their ecological importance and sensitivity to oil and gas-related activities. Alternative E, no action. This alternative would cancel all future lease sales, although previously issued leases would remain in force. If a prior lease sale were to be canceled, a future lease sale in that area would be delayed. Measures to reduce harm. Lease term contracts will state measures deemed necessary to reduce any predicted harm from oil spills. 10 possible lease measures await approval by the Assistant Secretary of the Interior for Land and Minerals Management and any potential multi-use conflicts with the Department of Defense. Environmental impacts. Analysis included routines, activities, accidental events, and cumulative impacts. Issues related to oil and gas exploration, development, production, and transportation activities include the potential for oil spills, wetlands loss, air emissions, wastewater discharges and water quality, marine trash and debris, structure and pipeline activities, platform removal, vessel and helicopter traffic, multi-use conflicts, support services, population fluctuations, land use planning, impacts on beaches and recreation, aesthetic influences, environmental justice, conflicts with state coastal management programs. Benthic communities. Expected impacts at depths beyond 300 feet range from negligible to minor. Accidental events are rare, usually temporary, and highly localized to the drilling site. A similar conclusion applies to shallow water communities overall. However, local damage at a given site could cause severe damage. Sargassum and associated communities. This ocean grassy environment promotes rapid recovery from any oil spills or mechanical damage from vessel activity. Impacts in any one region are thus expected to be negligible. Fish and invertebrate resources. Impact-producing factors include human-produced sound, bottom-disturbing activities, and accidental oil spills. Overall impact, however, is expected to be minor due to short-term localized effects. Commercial and recreational fishing cause far greater effects. Birds. Projected impacts should be no worse than minor, because any impacts should be short-term and reversible. Some species lay several eggs at a time, so the replacement rate could help sustain a population. A large oil spill would produce moderate damage to the bird population. Marine mammals. Impacts overall are projected to range from negligible to moderate. Sea turtles. Projected impact on the 5 endangered sea turtle species should range from negligible to moderate. Historically, far greater damage has been produced by harvesting of eggs, loss of suitable nesting beaches, and commercial fishing. Beach mice. These small coastal mice live on beach dunes in parts of Alabama and Florida. Pipeline construction would degrade their habitat, but oil spills impacts would be negligible because beach mice live above the intertidal zone. Corals. Endangered corals are elkhorn, staghorn, star, and mountainous beaches. Assuming adherence to all lease requirements, the impact on other coral species should be negligible. Accidental drilling events could cause severe damage in localized areas, but the number of such events is small. Note that the Flower Garden's coral region is blocked from leasing. Commercial fishing. Temporary disruption of fishing harvest can be caused by seismic surveys, drilling activities, and service vessel traffic. Placement of drilling structures prevents trawling in the region, which could reduce shrimp harvest in that area. Oil spills could close fishing zones and reduce the supply of seafood. However, drilling platforms create safe new environments for reef fish like snapper and groupers. Accidental events would be likely, small, and localized. Projected effects range from negligible to beneficial. Recreational fishing. Oil drilling vessel traffic would cause local disruption of fishing. Oil drilling structures create new habitats for fish and could be beneficial for fishing. Projected effects range from minor to beneficial. Archaeological resources. Major effects could occur if drilling activities occurred in an underwater archaeological site. However, archaeological surveys can identify such areas and contracts can prohibit drilling not at such sites. Land use and coastal infrastructure. The impact of onshore facilities can range from moderate to beneficial. Economic factors. Lease sales are economically beneficial to the corporations involved and produce lease and royalty revenue for the federal government. Social factors. Any potential accident is not likely to be of sufficient scale or duration to have more than a negligible to moderate impact. Overall, some oil production activities can have socially beneficial effects. 12 attached appendices specify possible lease contract stipulations on geological surveys, permits and applications, inspection and enforcement, pollution prevention measures, oil spill response plans, fairing and venting, use of best available and safest technologies, mitigation plans and capabilities, multiple lease stipulations, models for air quality monitoring, state coastal management programs, BOEM responses to comments from concerned citizens and corporations.